Hello, friends. I'm so excited. I am here with Kristin, friend and colleague.
Yeah.
Friend and colleague. I love it. Yeah, I've been tracking Kristin for a really long time, so I'm excited to have her here talking about her femme goddess and all the things, all the magical things that she does. Before we get started, as you guys know, I am Michelle Hirschman with Hirschman Clinical Services. I'm here with Darcy Meehan, who does Director of Outreach and Coaching for us. She's my superhero counterpart here. I'm so grateful for her. And we do amazing coaching services for folks in St. Louis and Missouri and Kansas and California, with folks in transition out of treatment, typically with addiction, mental health, and eating disorder challenges, and help them integrate back into the world and help them implement all their goals. So, with that said, I am excited to talk to a holistic healer, and that's what we do here at Creative Healing Podcast. We interview different holistic healers to help support folks with adjunct services, untraditional model of healing. And here we are. Darcy, can you please introduce Miss Kristin for us?
Absolutely. Hello, all. I'm thrilled to honor Kristin Summers. I'm going to talk about goddess embodiment today and so much more. Kristin is a feminine energy guide, professional storyteller, and creative alchemist who helps women embody their wholeness in life, love, and leadership. Through her signature Divine Duality approach, she teaches women how to integrate and embody the duality of their feminine energy, embrace their full selves, and create lives of deep alignment and joy. Kristin is also an award-winning former journalist, published poet, speaker, app creator. She offers workshops, courses, and community experiences that help women come home to themselves. We're going to talk about that and so much more today.
Wow,
Get
that
back.
sounds good. Thanks.
It's all you.
Well, that I do. I do. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. Thank you for that.
I love it. Well, let's focus in on one aspect of you at a time, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially the one that you're launching, because I actually am joining one of your feminine goddess.
Yeah, my goddess circle. Yeah,
Yes. So why don't we talk about that part of your work and what you do individually and in groups with ladies?
sure.
Mhm.
So I help awaken the divine feminine. And when I talk about this, I'm talking about people that identify with more feminine energy. Feminine and masculine energy lives in everyone, everyone. But I have felt called to work more with feminine energy as someone who has more feminine energy and has done a lot of healing work or evolving. We're continually healing, it's an ongoing thing. So we're never healed, we're just evolving. As someone who has evolved in this space of embracing her own feminine energy and what that looks like and the duality of that. And when I mean the duality of that, I mean the light femme and the dark femme. Because the truth is, when it comes to our feminine energy, both exist at the same time and they're not separate. But when it comes to our minds, it is easier to visualize our light and our dark. Because if you think of the yin and yang, they go together. They go very much hand in hand and they exist at the same time. So a lot of times when I work with people individually, they might come to me and say, I want to work on my light femme. Well, the light femme side of ourselves, that's the nurture, the caregiver side. That is the side that people see the most on social media, the flowy and the clothing just in the wind, just frolicking in the fields and just very, uh, playful and just carefree. And so someone might come to me and say, I want to work on that. But what's interesting is when we start working on that, is that we're also looking at their dark femme, which is the protector, which is the seductress, which I actually believe is where most of our magic is, because throughout history, the dark femme, the magic, the protector, seductress side of ourselves. And when I say seductress, I also mean seducing the life that we want, calling and magnetizing. I don't mean seducing as necessarily as a sexual thing. Okay. So, but someone might come to me and say, I'm going to work on my light femme, but really we're working on their dark femme and getting comfortable with the shadow side of themselves, with their anger. And then what is there in that anger? What is there in that frustration? What is in there in just their shame that lives there? There's uncertainty. There's just a myriad of things that can be there. So I work with women kind of individually. We come into this space and work one-on-one, and we really start looking at, first of all, how they define their feminine, because everyone defines their feminine differently. And so they might come in and say, oh, well, I'm in my light femme all day. I'm very nurturing. I'm very this, whatever, but I can't, my dark femme, that just feels so like odd to me. Like, what even is that? Or they might come to me and say, I'm in my dark femme. And they assume that dark femme means they just wear all black. And they're like, I'm just this badass. And I just like, I take charge and I'm always in control, which is a safety response. And as I clear my throat with that, they come in and they're like, I'm not in my light femme. I'm not in my nurturing side. And so we actually look about what their actual nurturer side looks like. You know, truth is, the person that came to me with that, we found her light femme, her nurturer side really quickly. And it was because she is very motherly, and she actually is very, very much a caregiver to those in her inner circle. She's just really protective about who she lets in. But once they're in, she's fierce and she loves them unapologetically. So a lot of it is coming to women or working with women is figuring out what their feminine energy looks like to them. And then what are their blind spots or things of how they define, because so much on social media when it comes to feminine energy, it's either this very much the dark side is the seductress and how to seduce and how to manipulate to get people to do what you want is what I see on social media that bothers me. Or, you know, it's very much this, I'm just going to cut everyone off and just very rigid. And then, or you see the light side where they're just flowing in the wildflowers and like that's their light. And so what I love to do is help shift their mindset around that and actually what their feminine energy is. So I do that on a one-on-one. And then what I do in a group setting is that we go into these certain meditations that help call in these different aspects. So call in the dark, call in the light. Because a lot of people I found when I do this meditation and people start visualizing what their light femme looks like and what their dark femme looks like, and if they have the opportunity to speak to that energy and that energy to speak to them, what insights and downloads come to them about what they're doing. And it kind of helps them move forward and how to work with that energy more. So we do that in a one-on-one, but also in a group setting, we have the opportunity to even talk about it more and provide community and support for each other around our feminine energy. Because so much of the divine feminine is community. So much of that aspect is that aspect. So my goddess circle just helps support that and kind of build that community. And then it really is a safe, non-judgmental space to talk about feminine energy and even masculine energy and how it shows up, and to just give ourselves grace and compassion along the way.
Love it. Love it. So like, so someone who comes into an individual session with you, what if they don't really like know this aspect of themselves? Like, are there exercises you put them through, questions you ask? How do
Oh, yeah.
they, yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So if someone comes in and I had this recently where I met with this woman and she goes, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I need to work with you. And I don't know what, but I want to. I said, okay. So I sent some questions kind of to get a feel of where she was at. She didn't answer them, which was fine. And then so we talked about it whenever we met up. And a lot of it is just kind of peeling back of, well, what about me did you feel called in for starters? And reminded them that we're mirrors. Well, you're just so warm. You're so open. You're so this. And I go, guess what? If I'm this way, you are too. So maybe that's what we need to work on first is the openness and appreciation that you are here to learn more about your energy. What do you know about energy? What do you believe about energy? How do you define it? Which is kind of hard to define. So it's like we start with kind of these questions like that, and really then it kind of becomes tailored. So for example, while I help different goddesses come in. So sometimes in the session, sometimes I hear like a goddess wants to come and speak to them, and I welcome into the space if the person I'm working with wants them to come in, always with consent. But like also, I've had sessions where they're like, I just want to get in touch with my spirit team, and I feel like I can't connect with them. So we did the exercise that I do to bring in your feminine energy, to bring in goddesses to come in to speak to you, did it for her spirit team. So it really kind of becomes tailored. And from that, then we got into intuition and connecting with her spirit team, connecting with herself and different parts of herself. So a lot of it just really, when it's working with me, if they don't know anything and they're just like, I want to work with you, I want to learn more about energy or crystals or whatever, then we just kind of go with those basics. And we just kind of, I kind of just guide them through and just kind of open up to see intuitively in the session, okay, we're gonna be working more with spirit team and like working with that, but then also teaching them that everything that they're feeling calm and grounded with me is very much in them too. A lot of times people just need a permission slip. They need this kind of from someone else saying, hey, I am this way because I've been doing all this work and I continue to do this work because we're all evolving. It's always happening. There's always work to be done. Um, if I have this, you can too. This is very possible. And so a lot of times it just kind of needs that assurance. And when I start speaking to them, it starts to click of like, oh, well, I have thought that, or I have wondered that. Oh, well, I'm not crazy. And a lot of it is like, no, you are not crazy. It's assuring them that they are in a safe space and everything that they're feeling or going through is not just in their head. And I do love that aspect of my job is just assuring them that they are safe, that they're not alone. They're very much divinely guided, supported, and loved. And, you know, being open. You just tell the universe that, you know what, I'm just open. I like to, for me, and it depends on their background too. So I even go even a little bit with this one part of the Bible about childlike faith. I'm like, childlike faith, childlike just overall being, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get surprised. I do this. I wake up and I say, I don't know how I'm going to get surprised today by the universe, but it's going to surprise me in the best way. It's going to be the greatest news ever. And I don't know what it's going to be, but you're totally just going to surprise me. It could be a text from an old friend. It could be someone paid for my food at the fast food, like someone had to pay for my meal. It could be I got $5 off. It doesn't matter, right? But sometimes too, a lot of this is just if they don't, they come in just kind of uncertain. We also kind of just work on that appreciation of what they're doing already for themselves and just being open to being there. And then we just build from there. Yeah. Yeah.
Like what should someone expect coming out of a session? Like how would they feel?
Um, they should expect, I would hope, as what I hear from people coming out of sessions, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel respected, they feel empowered, inspired, almost like their shoulders are just kind of relaxed. I'm like, oh, okay, okay. There are tools and resources and people out there to support me that are also, it's no bullshit either. They're just straight up, just um, honest and authentic. I really feel like when authenticity is the highest frequency that we can operate at. When we are authentically ourselves, people pick up on that. So, if anything, again, it's this permission slip of them to be authentic. And so, what I've gotten back as feedback is they feel inspired, they feel calmer, and they feel that, again, they're seen and they're heard. So much of it is just wanting to be seen because when you're going through things, you might not always have, unfortunately, the best support system around you, right? And so I love kind of being that, and I think we're all this, of just kind of being that. support buddy. It's just that accountability person, right? And for them, because we all need that in some capacity. So when I feel like I get to kind of be this gentle nudge of the work that they're doing and wanting to do, and now they feel inspired and empowered to do it from a place more from their feminine, so more with ease and flow, and not more I should do this and I have to do this, and a more I get to do this to love on myself. I get to connect to this energy. This energy is very much in me, and I want to work with it more, and it excites me, and I'm open. Then when we're taking action about things, we're more empowered and, to me, more magnetic for things to actually call in, as opposed to just the masculine, which is so doing. So a lot of times people come to me and they just say, I feel like I just get to just be, but I'm still taking action, but it's just in alignment and more with ease and flow, and I'm more open to those things. Yeah.
I love it. I love how clear you are in defining kind of the feminine and the masculine. I think it's really helpful and empowering.
Yeah, because it comes up the most, honestly. People
Mhm.
will say, oh, well, what's feminine and what's masculine? I'm like, well, the masculine is the do action taking, feminine is the be, but you can take action from your feminine. So that, and help people shift their mind around that. And when I explain that, those moments of burnout, those moments where you're like, what am I doing? It's like, oh, I might be my masculine too much, because the masculine is there and it holds its purpose. But when we operate it, because we feel like as entrepreneurs or just as people, just in life in general, with our careers, that we have to just keep doing. And but we do it from a masculine standpoint of I have to do this, or I should do this because society says I should do it this way. Then we get burnout and we get confused and we feel lost. And really, a lot of it's just reconnecting and working from our feminine, where it's like, I get to do this and I get to do this with ease and flow. And what does that look like for me? And so I love explaining that to people and the differences, because they're like, oh, I'm just so burnt out. I'm like, it sounds like you just need to reconnect with your feminine. That's what it sounds like to me. And your version of balance of those energies in you, and really kind of look at that. So yeah, I've gotten it's the most common question that I get. So I appreciate you saying that, because I get that the most is what's the difference? And then we work on how to operate on more of the feminine, while also realizing that masculine is there. And it just comes that self-awareness of, oh, I'm maybe my masculine a little too much. I need to go back into my feminine, and giving ourselves grace and compassion when we do that, because we all do that. We all, because the way the world is set up, it's set up in masculine energy. So we feel that pull to be in that energy. And so much is shifting collectively right now to be more in our feminine, which is why people are waking up with more intuition. And I'm going to quit talking. I could ramble all day about this, Michelle. Please, anyone else chime in? I'm just,
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm going to open it up.
yeah.
I guess my question is, what's your ideal person that you'd love to be working with? Like, who are the folks that are kind of flocking to you?
Actually, it's the people where you mentioned where they don't have any experience whatsoever and they don't really even know, but they feel like called to work with me. Those are my favorite, because then I feel like I get to plant these seeds. And it's always about planting seeds. And then I tell them we're clearing out the clouds to let the sun and rain come in to grow. But when I really get to plant those seeds and they have that aha moment, that's my favorite, because I feel like I'm literally starting them on this journey and I'm helping them start the path. And they've already started it themselves, because they obviously felt called to work with me. So I showed them, you're actually already on the right path. So you called me in, and now I'm here to help be that supportive partner along the way. So I love work with everyone, but those where they have that aha moment where they're just starting out, that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Awesome. Well, we have an audience here. So, Darcy, do you want to start? Do you have any questions you want to chime in with?
I do. Thank you so much for just like being in the flow and enthusiasm of talking about this. Like I could talk for ages. So it's like, well, that shows me that one, you're where you're meant to be, and two, like really channeling the creative generosity of what it is to be in like in the feminine, that when there's an outpouring, let it pour. And I'm curious what embodiment really means, and
Mhm.
what that looks like for you and how getting connected with the goddess energy or
Mhm.
divine feminine energy and embodiment really come together because I've been in many conversations, I've read books, and I've even seen people who seem to have one or the other, really clicking together the understanding of and the willingness to be in the embodiment don't
Mhm.
necessarily get combined. And that seems like where the magic is. So if
Yes,
you'd share more on that, I'd love it.
sure. Um, so embodiment. So when I work with people with embodiment, it is very much about helping them rise to that frequency of authenticity. So what I mean by embodiment is there is a level of whether neutrality, acceptance, and love and understanding of all sides of yourself, even the darker parts of yourself that you might be ashamed of, or you're afraid to admit, or you kind of push away. So much of embodiment is acknowledgement of all sides of yourself because we're all multifaceted beings and embracing them with love and understanding. And a lot of that is too is working with our inner child or inner teenager because so much of that work, if we haven't been working with inner child or inner teenager, can come out in various ways. So when I say embodiment, I mean it is embracing all sides of yourself and acknowledging them and giving yourself grace and self-compassion along the way. There is work by Dr. Kristin Neff and Dr. Christopher Germer around mindful self-compassion that was life-changing for me. So if anyone wants to look them up, I highly recommend getting the workbook because that was teaching me in the beginning of this work several years ago that when we do something that we're not necessarily proud of. So let's say someone texts us and we maybe respond the way that we don't want to respond. Maybe we ignore, maybe we lash out, whatever, how we respond to things. So maybe it's an uncomfortable text, right? When you're in that embodiment, you have this awareness of like internally, man, I would love to just pop off this person and maybe just say what I want to say or do whatever. But instead, you have this awareness that you don't. And you come from this place of realizing that we're mirrors and you don't take anything personal. Anyone that's listening, if you haven't read the Four Agreements, I highly recommend that as well. So when you're embodying, you're very much owning your stuff, but there's awareness around this growth. And then you're also forgiving yourself of like, why did I think that way? Why did I want to say these harsh things, but I didn't say the things, but I wanted to? And so much of embodiment is just embracing that of like, well, I could have responded that way, but I didn't. And that's okay. I'm not going to shame myself for any part of myself, even if I don't have to love it, but I can come to a neutral standpoint. Does that make sense? Of like this very much the embodiment is embracing all sides of yourself, giving yourself grace and compassion, realizing that you're not taking things personal and that you're responsible for your energy and how you show up every day. So how do you want to show up? Do I want to show up exhausted all the time and then telling myself how exhausted I am because then we're just feeding that loop? Or do I want to tell myself that I might be a little tired, but I've got some exciting things today and the universe is going to surprise me today? And I am the divine feminine. And what does that divine feminine look like to me? So, with that, it could be to help embody that, wearing certain clothing or jewelry, wearing a certain perfume. So much of my work is also helping people create mental anchors so then they can call in that energy and realize that it flows through them throughout the entire day and actually just getting your mindset into that it's in you all the time whenever you want and giving yourself that grace and compassion. That is embodiment. That is literally just accepting all sides of yourself and coming to a place of love and understanding of why you did this or why it doesn't matter. You're giving yourself that love that you deserve just for existing and then showing up from just such a open and just excited standpoint. Does that make sense? It's so much about just authentically embracing yourself and giving yourself grace and compassion with it, because no one has this figured out. we're all working through this, okay? So even as someone in my work, I'm still doing this work for myself just because I'm teaching it. But because I'm so passionate about it, because what I've seen, what it's done for me. So that's what embodiment is. It's accepting yourself wholeheartedly and authentically, every aspect of yourself, and giving yourself grace along the way. And then, like I said, creating those mental anchors of what feels good to me. Sometimes we never even ask ourselves, well, what feels good to me? What colors feel good to me? Not when someone says I look good in, or what I normally will, but no, if I had the choice, what would I be wearing? So there are places sometimes I'm really dressed up and I am quote unquote overdressed. I don't care, because I felt good in that moment to wear that, because I was embodying my feminine at that moment and honoring it. So a lot of it is just checking in with yourself, what your divine feminine looks like, and then how to honor it, and then listening when she speaks to you, and then just continually doing that to where it just kind of becomes a very much daily thing of realizing, oh, I don't have to meditate or call it in. It's just already in me when I wake up. And how do I want it to show up today? So that's pretty much. Was there any part of that question? I'm sorry. I know I get on tangents, guys. I'm sorry. I'm really passionate about this work.
You identified so many important milestones in a journey.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I got from that response, Kristen, and thank you, is that there's no arrival here. And
No.
so I'm hearing so much around like the opportunity to be versus
Yeah.
do. And one thing you said about just the embracing ourselves, I'm thinking about how that can seem so impossible around certain parts of identity in certain life phases or stages, and my own experience, as well as some of the clients, I mean humans, the clients that I've worked with or I'm currently working with, how embodiment seems to be such a task because there's parts of identity, there's past stories that are still, still current, so
Mm-hmm.
storylines that are really confining. So I'm wondering, when shame enters the picture,
Mm-hmm.
how can tapping into this goddess energy or the divine, whether it's identified
Yeah.
as feminine or masculine, how
Mm-hmm.
can it really be a channel to heal some of the shame so that there can be more intuition and flow?
So shame is one of those things that's interesting. Guilt is so much out of expectations. And frustration is just unmet expectations subconsciously that we had, right? That we didn't even know that we had expectations of how an outcome of whatever it may be. When it comes to shame, there's always a root of where that came from. So there's a technique that I work with people that I've been doing for years, because you might feel shame around something, but it could be something that seems like insignificant. So I'm going to give an example of this technique that I do to get to the root of where the shame actually is. Because once you get to the root of it, then you can just start just throwing all kinds of self-love and compassion to it, and working around it. So let's say you stub your toe and you're just like, oh, that was like so embarrassing. And oh my gosh, because it was maybe in front of people or whatever. And I'm like, well, why? Oh, because I was clumsy. And then you ask yourself, why again? Well, why? Well, because I was moving too fast. Well, why? Because I felt like I needed to be over here and I needed to be and I needed to move, and anxiety, right? Well, why? Because I feel like I'm always behind. And so I'm always having to rush. Why? And then it comes down to the spiral of, why are you feeling those things? Asking yourself why without judgment, your mind will give you an answer. And it can be so powerful. So you started with stubbing your toe. Next thing you know, you're identifying about why you've always felt like behind or clumsy or not enough. So it started off with stubbing your toe. And by the you get to the root, it turns out, well, why am I always clumsy or whatever? Because I'm always behind, because I'm never doing enough. And then it comes down to the enough. And everyone has that. They don't feel good enough, smart enough. They just don't feel like they're doing enough because society wants us always feel like we need to do more. We're feeling that pressure to do more, more, more. So when it comes to shame about things, it's like, all right, well, let's get to the root of where that come from. Also, it depends on the psychologist, but our beliefs around how the world works, how we make money, how relationships work is formed by age 10 and some say age 7. So a lot of that shame too could be because somebody said something to you when you were 10 or 12 or 7 years old that then you internalized, and it is manifested in all these different ways and shows up as shame in this particular era of your life. So a lot of it when it comes to shame is just working on the why you feel shame and asking yourself without judgment. So much of this is just being the observer of your thoughts, not identifying with them, and coming to a place of almost parent like, or you can see divine like, your higher self. Imagine your higher self is there nurturing you. Well, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel shame around this? And not of a place of judgment, but of a place of understanding, of just very softness of, well, why do you feel this way? Why? And then when you get to that root, then I feel like you can really start doing work around, as I say, kind of rearranging that root, or sometimes just yanking it out completely. Um, and so then something there more beautiful can grow instead. So when it comes to shame, and someone feels like, for instance, the work I do in sensual and sexual self-care work that I do, there's a lot of shame around sexual health and being a seductress. It's like, well, why was that? What's your background? Where do you think that comes from? And from a partner, from the religious background, they were rejected at some point, maybe as a high school. It all comes back to something in their past. Shame to me is so much tied to a past experience that then we have then internalized as a truth, and it's not the truth. We operate so much in partial truths and half truths. And so when I have somebody comes to me with shame, I want to get to the root as to why that's there. And we do the why technique, like I said, we do other techniques to get there, but we get there without a place of judgment, just of more observing, almost like you're kind of just, you're stepping back and separating yourself from the shame, realizing that shame is a feeling, and all feelings are fleeting. I tell my kids, a thought is a thought, a feeling is a feeling, but none of it matters unless you give it meaning. And that's very Dr. Seuss like, but that's what I've told my kids. And that has helped of like, oh, you're feeling this now, or like you're like people say, I'm anxious. Are you anxious or are you feeling anxious? You don't have to identify with the anxiety. You're feeling anxious in this moment because of why? Because of XYZ. Same thing goes with shame. So that's how I work with people when it comes to shame and help. Then just like I said, Care Bear style, just putting self-compassion and love there, replacing that, and then just kind of rewiring the mind around that shame to just remove it. And then if it flares up again, it comes through with, oh, okay, I know this story. I know this old story. I'm not going to identify it with this time because I actually know that it wasn't me. It was someone else projecting their stuff onto me that then made me feel shame because they had expectations of me. So that's how I work with people with shame. Anyway, I'm sorry again. I'm rambling, guys. You guys got to cut me off. I'm gonna keep going.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay,
And we still have time, so you're
good.
great.
Okay, good.
Leslie or Endra, do you guys have any questions you want to ask?
I just want to, I love all of this so much. Thank you so much, Kristin. There were two things I wanted to touch on. And I think you might have already clarified this, but I just want a little bit more clarification. Um, do we manifest from our feminine? Is that where manifestation comes from? When we're in our flow, and that's when
Yes.
we manifest. Yeah.
Yep.
So when you're in your masculine, is that where you find like the blocks that stop the manifestations from coming through?
Um, I wouldn't necessarily that they're blocks. I think that it can definitely slow things down. Um, because as someone who has manifested a lot of unique things in her life, um, I think definitely being the masculine can slow things down, but I know it's still coming for me. So I don't want people to think that if it's like a block, it's like, oh, well, I've been my masculine so long, so I've been blocking this. So it's to be hard on themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Of people come to me and they're like, oh, well, I should have been in, remove should. Okay. You're realizing it now for a reason because maybe you're ready. Maybe you've been manifesting this house, manifesting this partner, whatever it may be, which I've manifested all of that. I've manifested well-paid speaking gigs, trips, all kinds of stuff in my life. And so much of it was staying in the feminine, but that doesn't mean the masculine, because the masculine wants the action, the how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. There's two different types of manifestors. There's specific and non-specific. So specifics, they're going to want to be more in their masculine of getting that plan of how we're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And for those like me and non-specific, I'm supposed to fully just be in the feel and surrender the how. So I think that definitely manifesting comes from the feminine energy. And the masculine can help with that aligned action because so much of it is faith plus aligned action. So it's like being open, but then taking aligned action towards it, right? So if you want to call in a speaking gig, right? You're going to be setting up a page, right, of your type of speaking offers, right? And you're going to post here and you're going to take aligned action so the universe that you're ready and open. So you're going to take aligned action in both energies. So if you feel like you've kind of been in your masculine a little too much and you're ready to kind of manifest a little bit more, just know that the masculine can help you there and necessarily is going to block, but it could definitely kind of just slow things down. But then it gives you an opportunity for introspection when you catch it of like, oh, I've just been my masculine a little too much. Hey, I know my masculine is here. It's going to help me operate. It's going to help me take action at times. But I'm awakening to this and awareness of this now that I've been too much of my masculine when it comes to manifesting, that it's okay. And I'm going to forgive myself for that. And I'm going to just focus on rewiring more into my feminine. So it blocks, but I would say more just kind of delays. And it depends on people. Some people probably do manifest more in their masculine than others. But in my experience and what I've heard, majority of it is being in that feminine energy first and then using that energy, using both energies to take aligned action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have people come to me and they're just like, oh, well, I'm never going to find a partner. Like I manifested a partner once, all 60 things on the list he was, even physical features, by the way. But what I did is I visualized him, I let go, and then every quality I wanted him to have, I gave to myself first. And I started embodying the partner that I actually wanted.
Yeah.
So it was like, but I wasn't going to be upset with myself of like, why can't I do this? And I'm blocking. I'm like, okay, no, obviously now this version of me now is ready. So much when we start manifesting things, we also have to clear out old versions of ourselves to even be able to hold our nervous system, to even hold what we're calling in. So much of it is nervous system work. So, we might be manifesting a partner or house or whatever. Universe is like, okay, well, we got to clear out all this other stuff to even be open to it. So when we realize that, oh, I've been in my masculine a little too much to be more in my feminine, it's like, okay, awesome. Now, obviously, I am ready because I just had that awareness. So I wasn't ready before, but I was clearing out so much to get here. So thank you for getting me here. Now let's make some magic. Yeah. I feel like with manifesting sometimes, as someone who used to think she was specific, I would be hard on myself. I'm like, why can't I manifest this amount at this time? Or why can't I do this? Or why can't I do that? And just removing shame or expectations and really looking in of how I actually manifest and what works for me and how to take that aligned action that feels good to me, which is honestly why I don't teach manifestation courses. I teach people to just check in with themselves because they have the answers within them. Because then I don't want people to follow this exact script. And if it doesn't work for them, because it might not work for them, And but yeah, it is. To me, most of our magic, really the really powerful stuff is in our dark femme side, because that's the side that's the most suppressed. So doing that work and being comfortable with her and or having a relationship with her, that's to me what we can call in some really big things and have a lot of fun. Because to me, the universe wants to play and have fun and give us. We just have to be open.
Yeah.
Leslie, do you have any questions?
I have so many questions.
You can hit me up later. It's okay.
That's true. But okay. So as I hear you talk about this, and I have heard you talk about this before, we're in the same part of the world. And I guess I feel like, so especially like when you talk about the feminine and masculine, I'm hearing you, it feels like you're talking a lot about bringing things into balance, right?
Yeah.
And I think like you can't, obviously culture and systems have spent forever creating an imbalance, right, with these constructs. And so I guess like, first of all, it feels like really important work to bring people into balance. It can be really disorienting, I know, for people when they start stepping into their authenticity and kind of detangling, I guess, like these messes that they've stepped out of. So, so then also you talk about this light femme, dark femme kind of stuff, which also feels like a balance issue. What I guess I'm most curious about is like, I'm hearing you talk about all these different ways that you help people. And then there's also the goddess circles and goddess and working with goddesses for that. How does that help bring things into balance? Do you see like,
Oh, working with goddesses?
yeah.
So I got a story here.
Oh.
Into realizing that the divine feminine is goddess energy, okay? And that there's goddess energy within all of us. Is that I have never felt particular to work with just one goddess, but I felt like interested to learn a little bit of everything. And people would come to me and say, well, this is the goddess I work with, Aphrodite, and I work with goddess Isis, and I work with Lilith, and I work with just Kali and all like, and I never felt called to just one. And that's when it came, then it came to me in a meditation that the reason why I don't is because I'm supposed to help people when they're ready, as I'm going with them in this journey, right? Whenever they're ready at that level for our goddesses to come in, because we'll do sessions and I can feel a goddess wants to come in. Like I can feel 3 or 4. I don't know which ones, but I just get this energy of like, hey, I want to come into this space and talk to you. Are you open? So much of this is realizing that there's goddess energy within us. We might feel called to one goddess or not. It also depends on the seasons that we're in, and that they're going to give gentle nudges. So much of this, when it comes to this goddess energy, is it's the openness of all of it, right? And working with that energy, first of all, not being afraid of it. People else get really afraid. They're just like, well, they get afraid of the dark goddesses, right? Oh, well, they are here to love and support you. And anything that they do is going to be transformative for you and actually really good for you. The reason why it scares is because you've gotten used to a certain way and your brain likes patterns and your mind likes patterns. So I love mixing neuroscience with this so much because it goes hand in hand. So, a lot of that when it comes to this goddess energy, it's understanding that there might be certain goddesses for certain seasons that want to work with you, or you might be like me and feel called to work with several, and there's no right or wrong way. And it's all very much just trusting your intuition and realizing that you do have this goddess energy already within you when you want to tap into it. So when I talk about the magic within us and our dark femme, it is the goddess energy that's actually in all of us. But I feel like, not that it's a hierarchy, but you have to be at a certain space where you're ready to work with that energy, right? And it's going to come to you and you're going to feel called to these goddesses whenever you're ready. You might not think that you're ready, but you're ready. So I love working with people where I can kind of see where they started, and then I can see where they get to the point where now they're working with goddesses and they want to learn more. But I had an experience where I kept thinking, why don't I feel called to just like one particular goddess? And I realized, maybe because you have different, now I'm gonna get wooey here. You've got different fractals of goddess energy of all these different goddesses in you. And that's part of your work, is to help women work with their goddess energy. So this is why you connect to many and not just a couple of them, not just one, not just two. And that part of your purpose, Kristin, is to help women embrace their inner goddess inside them and to what that looks like to them, and to just be in that magic and that flow. So then these goddesses can come in to work then to help them, to help remove that fear around it, because so much of the dark femme goddess aspect throughout history has been shamed and has been suppressed. It has been told that it's bad, that it is shameful, that it is just not good, and that we should be embarrassed by it, or that we shouldn't be confident, that we shouldn't be should not, should, this way z. So when it comes to goddess energy, when people get to that point, um, that's where I feel like a lot of you start to realize just how powerful you are and how you create your reality, and how these goddesses are here to help and support you, and to not be scared of that. But that also means by working with like a darker goddess, you also have to look at the dark parts of yourself. So much of this is like you have to be ready and do the shadow work to integrate in order for these sort of goddesses to even come in the first place. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question, or did it just make more questions?
No, I mean, sure. Yeah, you answered my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. It's in fact, that's what I'm doing. Actually, the book Goddess Energy is in my book club that I have at Sacred Creations. That's the book that we're doing, because we're going to be talking about goddess energy and about how to work with that in ourselves, and like what does that look like, and to not be, just to give ourselves grace. Honestly, we're all trying to figure this out on this giant rock, you know what I mean? Like, we're just all here doing our best, and so much of it just comes back to that nurturing, loving ourselves, um, and just everything is a mirror and a reflection. So
Awesome. Oh my gosh, so much beauty, so much good. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast and really sharing with us the amazing work that you do. And I'm excited. I know Darcy will be putting all of your things below, all the websites and the groups and all the lovelies that you're doing, because you definitely are on fire this month and launching finally all the
finally, and I'm not done. I'm launching more stuff. It's just it's continual, and I'm just letting it flow.
Mhm.
And I appreciate you guys giving me the space to let me ramble on about this stuff that I get so passionate about. So I appreciate you giving me the space to share.
Yeah, I'm just grateful you're doing this work, because I mean, we all need it. We all need to connect to these different parts, and helps us kind of flourish in the world in different ways. So
Yeah, we deserve it.